Sometimes silences in life make the most noise. Atlanta was not just a new city for Milady Sherry, but a new identity. The blue skies, the shining buildings, and the busy streets of the city were telling him that the past was over. Now he is the author of his own story. In the morning, when she used to prepare her children for school, she would feel comfortable looking at her innocent faces. Then she would take a cup of coffee in her hand and sit near the window where the city's light would have hoped her. No camera, no noise, no artificial impression, just a woman who now learned to hear herself. But life has never been so quiet. Because when a woman really comes to peace, those who ever ruled over her become restless. In Huntsville, the same anxiety was increasing. Meanwhile, Martell was once again in the media news. He sat on a famous podcast and said with great confidence, "I just want everyone to be peaceful, especially for children." His words were soft, but the same old pride was hidden in the eyes. Those who had been watching him for years knew that this statement was not a love but a message. And that message was for Milady. The silence that Miley had made her power, the same silence had become a wound for Martell. He was watching that the world was moving forward without mentioning it, and it was becoming difficult for him to bear it. Producers were also feeling all this. He knew that the show's brightness was dimmed without Milady, but he also thought that Milady would not return. So they decided that the story would now have to move through someone else. His eyes kept on Destiny Patton, a woman around whom the conflicts were always circulating. And sometimes Milady's friend, sometimes became an enemy. This time was very heavy for Destiny. She was completely silent after the show was fired. No live session, no explanation, no response. Just occasionally his social media posts, "God is making a way for me," or "Silence is also power." But there was a storm in the silence. She knew that what happened to her was not just the result of a decision. It was a conspiracy, and someone was behind it. And the finger of his suspicion rose straight to Martell. He felt that some people from the show's production team were suddenly going away. The first emails that responded in hours were still silent after several days. The end of the calls was always on the same sentence, "We talk to you later." And then one day he got a small message, "We've decided to move in a different direction." Just a line changed its whole world. For the first time, Destiny realized that reality TV never reality. Meanwhile, Miley's life in Atlanta was quite different. She had launched a new company, having a self-esteem workshop for women. And in a big interview she said, "I have forgiven the past, but I will not go back where my soul was broken." It spread like a fire. Fans called it a symbol of power. But for some people in Huntsville, these words became poisonous. Especially for Martell. He could not tolerate that the world was running without the mention of Milady. Meanwhile, a new man entered Destiny's life, Eden Coleman, a self-confident, cheerful, and mysterious business consultant. He told Destiny, "Your story has not ended. You just chose the wrong stage. Now it is your turn to change the rules of the game." Initially, Destiny did not take it seriously, but as the days passed, Eden's words began to change inside. The one who had ever given up now began to feel the spark of revenge. Then one day, there was a strange meeting at a deserted cafe in Huntsville. Martell and Eden were sitting face to face. There was silence between the two, but there was stress in the atmosphere. Martell said with an artificial smile, "So are you the person who is inciting Destiny?" Eden replied in a calm tone, "I am not provoking it, just showing the truth." "Your time is over, Martell. Now the game is in someone else's hands." The smile disappeared from Martell's face. For this, it was not just a phrase, it was a warning. That night, Milady was working in her room in Atlanta. The children were asleep. The room was just a laptop light. She was making sketches of her brand's new campaign to suddenly play the phone. There was no name on the screen, just wrote "private caller." He raised the call. On the other hand, there was a male voice, dim but clear. "The higher the highest, the harder you have to fall. The harder you will have to fall, Millie." And then the line was cut. Milady was left. His heart began to be beating fast. He looked around. Everything was normal, but he felt as if someone was watching him. It was the moment from which the story took a new direction. Now the matter was not just jealous, fame, or bitter love. Something else, something more dangerous was in the back. There was a shade growing behind Milety's comfort. The fire of revenge began to flare inside Destiny. And the first time Martell was terrified to see his world out of his hand. The story is not over yet. This is just the beginning of a quiet storm. In the next section, the next morning, Atlanta's light was as soft as usual. But for Milety, that day was not the same day. His eyes were heavy with sleep, but the mind was awake. The night phone call had left a strange doubt in his heart. He looked at his laptop, checked the phone again, but there was no call recording. Like that moment is just a dream, but more real than reality. She was telling herself that it might be a joke, but was not ready to accept the heart. Meanwhile, Destiny decided to take a new step in Huntsville. She didn't want to be quiet anymore. Eden's words resonated in his mind. If you do not write your own story, someone else will write for you, according to your own interest. He pulled out his old contracts, emails, and production notes. Each word, reading every message, began to see one thing clearly. Martell had deceived him. The same person whom he trusted most during the show was now the reason for his fall. Eden made a full plan in front of him. We will not fight this war in the media, Destiny. We will fight this war inside the story. You will come back, but not on anyone's indication, but as our own, right? There was a strange belief in his tone. He suggested that he should start a new reality web series called Truth Unfiltered, where he tells his own story. Destiny found this idea dangerous but attractive. A few days later, he posted a video with a simple, dark background, without makeup, without hobbies. I'm going to talk about the things that everyone hid. I will tell the truth that you didn't want to see. Millions of views arrived in a few hours of the video. Some people lied to him, some appreciated his courage. But one thing was clear: she had returned. Meanwhile, this was a new crisis for Martell. He watched the video, but his face was neither angry nor surprised, just a cool silence. He knew that Destiny couldn't do it all. There is someone who is running it. He met his old colleague Mark, who was near the show's production editor. Mark slowly said there is a new man behind Destiny. His name is Eden Coleman, but his past is not clear. Martell asked, interested, no clean, meaning. Mark took out a phone and showed a picture. Eden was standing with a large TV network producer in another city. The same network that was once talking to Milety for new shows. Martell's brain was frozen for a moment. So all this game is not on me, is on Miley, he told himself. Now he is convinced that Eden is not only using Destiny, but is making a secret plan against Milety. Meanwhile, a new turning point came in Milety's life. His company in Atlanta, Rise Miley, remained silent for a few moments. Then he smiled and said, "Sometimes people get comforted by blames others for their defeat. I just pray that they can find peace soon." But there was a shaking in his heart. He immediately told his team to find out, where did it all start? Eden's tricks were now accelerating. He was using Destiny as a media weapon. It secretly sent content to various bloggers, old videos, edited clips, and posts full of misrepresentation against Milety. While watching, a new statement began to become a new statement on social media. Milety cheated on everyone. For the first time, Martell felt that it had all exceeded. He knew how hard Milety was making his reputation again. He decided to meet Eden, a secret place where they both sit. Asterisk, what enmity do you have for Milety? Martell asked in a harsh tone. Eden said with a light smile, "This is not an enmity, a business. When a face starts to shine in the market, someone has to quench it so that a new face can emerge. And that face, Martell, Destiny? Destiny is just a seal, and you are using it," Martell said angrily. Eden laughed. "And you never used anyone?" The phrase was on Martell's heart. On the other hand, Destiny was now in doubt. He began to feel that there was something hidden in Eden's story. One night, he saw a file in Eden's office, which wrote Project M. There were details, photos, and some things that only an internal man could know. Destiny's hands began to tremble. She understood that the war she was part of, probably not her own. That night, a car was seen outside Milety's house. The same private caller number came again. This time only one message came. It's just the beginning. Milady took a deep breath, but this time there was no fear on his face. He said to himself, I will not break again. Now, whatever storm comes, I will face it. This was the moment when the three characters, Milady, Martell, Destiny, followed a path where it was not possible to return. On the one hand, the truth, the fame on the other, and a person in the middle, who was using all the past for their own benefit. The story was no longer just a reality show politics. It had become a real war, a war of emotions, ego, and revenge. And the scent of revenge was now spreading everywhere. The shadows of the night were deep. And despite the light on Atlanta's streets, there was a strange silence. Milady was standing inside her studio where posters of her next event were planted on the wall. She had become a successful business, a strong mother, and a surveillance. But today she was feeling close to her past noise. The same number was shining on the phone screen, private caller. He did not call the call. He picked up. On the other hand, a quiet breath was heard. Then a familiar but pressed tone came in. Miley, it's Destiny. Milady's lips remained silent. After a moment of silence, she said gently, Do you guess how much you have done? Destiny's voice had both weaknesses and regrets. I guess I am burning myself in this fire. But Miley, you should know one thing. Whatever happened, I didn't do it alone. The pebbles on Milady's forehead were deepened. Then who did, Destiny? Who used you against my life? Destiny took a deep breath. Eden Coleman. The man who ever wanted to meet you for your new show. He knows all your secrets. And he wants to erase you. Milady said nothing for a few moments. His hands began to shake. Eden, the same name that has been shaving like a shadow around it for the past few days. She knew that this game is no longer limited to the media. It has become personal. Martell, on the other hand, was sitting in his office. Under his eyes, there were signs of lack of sleep. There were the same photos in the front open file, Milady events, Eden meetings, records, and some secret financial documents. Mark said Eden had a secret deal with the producers of Milady's former show. The goal was clear: destroy Milady's reputation so that Destiny could be made the main face in the new reality series. This is no longer just a war of Miley. It is our war, Martell said to himself. He was the same Martell who had ever ruined everything, but today he had a new commitment, a resolve to compensate. The next morning, Milady and Martell met at a cafe. It was the first time that the two sit on the same table, without fighting, without any doubt. Milady asked the straight question, Did you know about Eden? I know now, and I will stop it, Martell said truthfully. But Milady, you have to be prepared for it, because this person just did not come down to you. He has come to dig your past. If my past was my weakness, he would now become my strength, Milady said in a strong tone. A few days later, Destiny made a decisive meeting in Eden's office. Files, cameras, and recording systems were all ready. But this time she was not a silent partner, but a witness to the truth. Eden, I trusted you. You said we will show the truth. But you made a lie a lie, Eden said with a sarcastic smile. Destiny, this is entertainment, not the truth. People do not want to see the truth. They want the story. And you are part of my story. Destiny pulled her phone out of pocket. A red button on the screen was shining. The recording was on. No, Eden, today I have come to finish your story. At that moment, he recorded the whole dialogue and sent it straight to Milady. Milady ran the recording at a live press conference with his legal advisor. His words echoed throughout the media. Sometimes a war has to be fought to speak the truth. I am not ending this war today, but I am making a new start. The video went viral. People scream Eden Coleman turned out to be a fraud. The production company immediately closed all its projects. Truth Unfiltered show canceled. Destiny apologized publicly with tears. Milady just said, I forgive you because I want to free myself from the past. Martell was watching all this. For the first time, he had peace in his eyes. He knew that maybe Milady would never allow him to come back to his life, but at least he stood with him today for justice. A few weeks later, Milady launched a new show with his team, Rebirth, The Real Story. The show became a symbol of women's life, their struggle and strength. She was the same Miley, but more dignified, calm, and fearless than ever. Destiny resumed its small business. This time he narrated his story with truth. I fell, but I learned not to defeat if you stand up again. For the first time in his life, Martell took a distance from social media. He started spending time with his children and said in an interview, "I learned that love is not controlled. If you really want someone, let him get free." Atlanta's evening returned again. Melody was standing on the roof of her house, a cup of tea in her hand, the same smile on the face. A new message came to her phone. "You did it, Melody." Eden Coleman's last message. Melody turned off the phone, looked at the sky, and said gently, "I not just survived, I was born again." If you felt this struggle of Miley, so remember, even if everything is touched in life, the truth is your greatest strength. Never consider yourself less, because after each defeat, a new birth is waiting for you. A new birth is waiting for you.